And we're back. How's it going, Grimdark enjoyers? Welcome to another Hobby Hang stream on a totally consistent Friday evening. Well, early evening, let's be real. Today we'll be finishing off some Gengar Leapers of the Von Ryan variety. They're mostly done. Well, look, the hard work's done. All the dots are in place on these last three. So we're going to work on the sharps, like our hoofs and scything talons, any pointy, spiky bits. Going to work on the mouths and the eyes. Those should be the remaining components. The leader of the squad here will get a little Blood Angel's helmet. But barring that, we're not going to get into bases. Captain Poseidon, I see you in chat. Damn you time zones. My favorite live streams happen on 23:30. Well, I'm flattered to be among the favorite few. Okay, we're going to start with the sharps, probably. No, you know what? Let's do the eyes. I got some red on the palette already. So we're going to bust out the golden maple, size 1 here. Been putting a bit of mileage on this brush, and the point is still looking good. It's still holding up. I do have a link and discount code for golden maple brushes in the description of the stream. So for our Gengar eyes, they are red. Well, they are a glowing red. So let me try and find my contrast red. The old Blood Angels Gen 1. We'll be using that over a pink color. So I have, what is this? Army Painter Pure Red and an Off-White. I'm just going to mix a quick pink here. And we're going to paint some eyes. We're essentially using the easy eye lenses method. The easy contrast eye lens method as described on the video on the channel. Even though they aren't helmet eye lenses, the technique works well enough. See, ordinarily, it seems like we need 2 coats for that, but because the method requires some layering on the centers, I think we can get away with it. Captain Poseidon says, I recently started an an Iron Hands army. Just finished my Dreadnought, War Leader Banis leader. If the fourth clan company, sad that Dreadnoughts aren't characters and can't be generals. Yeah, that is a bit of a bummer. I think you have you don't have those character upgrades for Dreadnoughts anymore. I think at best you have a stratagem for the Iron Hands and the Ironstorm Spearhead that gives it an upgrade for until your next command phase, one of those jammies. Yeah, you're gonna have to play some narrative. You're gonna have to do some house rule if you want to have your Iron Hands Dreadnought leader. Even the Chaplain Dreadnought in Legends is no longer a character, I don't think. Which is a misstep, I think. I mean, if you're going to have a Legends unit, why limit yourself? Why limit the flavor and the theme if you're going to make it a Legends unit? Yeah, we can live with a bit of overspill. I usually do end up cleaning it up anyways, if I'm being completely honest. Okay, let's get the next one. Oh, this guy's arm fell off. Big sad. Took a mortal wound last time he was on the tabletop. took a mortal wound. But I have the arm standing by. Don't think we'll repair it on stream, but we'll paint the sharps. Got red eyes, gray mouths, and black sharps. Well, more brown, really. Brown-black. Eric Brandenburg. Simona, welcome to the stream. Eric Brandenburg says, I wish they had a Tech Marine in an Invictor variant. Oh, that's a great idea, actually, right? How better of a way is there to keep up with your dreadnoughts than in a warsuit? I mean, it just makes sense, right? Captain Poseidon says, yeah, yes, a revered hero of the chapter, not a character, though. Yep. Simona says, yo, got your channel randomly recommended. Love the colors so far. Well, I'm happy to hear the algorithm is doing its thing. That's reassuring. Sometimes I suspect the algorithm. It's honestly probably just a volume thing. But I like that you're liking the colors. It's probably the strength of the Gengar aesthetic, to be honest. I believe the color choices I made were pretty good. Oh, we missed this guy's eye. See, each of them has 3 eyes. Okay, and then we have our last one. Misfit PC Minis, welcome to the stream. Well, you have a better than suspected turnout. You know, this is not what I expected for not being consistent. Not being consistent. Usually, it's not a Friday. Usually it's like a Wednesday or Thursday. I was trying to make Thursday the regular, the usual intended streaming day, but this Thursday I had a conflict, a scheduling conflict. Not to be confused with a physical conflict. So tell me, chat, anyone else working on some hobby projects at the moment, or are we just hanging? Or are we just chilling? Eric Brandenburg says, at what the 40k, glad to see your finger is healing nicely. That will leave a scar, though. Indeed. Indeed. I agree. It will leave a scar. Which one of these guys was first? It's okay, I can live with the scar. That's what I get for trying to cook vegetables. Simona says algorithm is basically RNGesus. Either you are lucky or not, which sucks if you aren't lucky. True. You're probably right about that. Captain Poseidon says, being a Friday is nice for me. I can stay up late. My hobby project is Iron Hands Intercessors. Well, that makes sense, since that's your... Yeah, you're mentioning you're working on your Iron Hands earlier. Iron Hands Intercessors. You doing any conversions? Any augmetics? I mean, that Iron Hands list build I made was definitely a vicarious thematic list build video. Keeps me from seeing the project through myself, right? Make a video on it, get it out of my system. Kind of see the project come to life in a different sort of way. Okay, so now our diluted Blade Angel's contrast is going over the eyes. It's okay if we get some overspill. Actually, that kind of helps sell the effect. So I'm just going to go a little bit over the eyelids. Well, actually, I don't think they have eyelids, technically. This guy's nice and easy. All his arms are out of the way. Misfit says, my halberd conversion is approaching finishing stage. Just gotta wait for a weapon arm. Remind me, Misfit, that halberd is for a Thousand Suns halberd? Is that the case? It's hard to remember everyone's hobby projects. You'll have to forgive the lapse in memory if I'm confusing you with someone else. Simona says, currently hand sculpting a figurine for my brother as a gift. It's Battle Damage Goku, so definitely not Warhammer. Hey, that's still a hobby project, and sculpting, hand sculpting, like, that's legit. That's definitely higher skill floor than just painting miniatures. You have my respect. And Goku is just a legendary cool character, so I'm not biased at all. Well, you know, I guess that's the benefit of having that arm fall off. It does make it easier to paint the eyes. How about that? Looking rather spidery with all those extra eyes, right? Look at him. There. What a creepy, creepy little dude. Look, you gotta have fun with your toys, okay? There's no shame in it. It's why we have them. Okay, now with that base color, I'm going to attempt to pick out the centers, thus creating a glowing effect. We'll see if I goof it up. Okay, we got decent readability, and this is fairly close up, mind you. I mean, you guys are seeing it closer than I am because of that zoom technology. Only the best technology on this stream. What else was going on in the Warhammer news space? Look, personal Warhammer news space. I am putting together a small Age of Sigmar Stormcast Eternals army. I've been sharing posts on, more so on Instagram than on YouTube channel posts. But you can see the general direction of the army. It's all helmetless because I've recently become obsessed with painting faces. And I just think they're going to look rad because each of them looks like a hero, right? Without a helmet on. Each of them has an individual, a human quality, right? Go figure. Go figure the characters look more heroic once they have faces. Misfit says, yeah, 1,000 Suns, but my version is to use it as a demon prince also. Interesting. Real talk, okay? So, the Thousand Suns Codex, I know it's very powerful, very effective, it's totally fine, right? Sideline that. Why is there no teleporting ability for the Hellbrute in the Thousand Suns? Unless I missed it. You guys let me know in chat if I missed it. But from what I could tell, I did take a gander at the Codex, and I did not find the ability to teleport your Hellbrute. And after seeing Space Marine 2, I'm like beside myself. Like, why wouldn't you do that? So you guys tell me. You guys tell me if I missed it. Because I feel like that should be a must. Dude, teleporting Hellbrute in Space Marine 2 is like the best part. It feels like a missed opportunity on the tabletop. I mean, 10th edition is so desperate for flavor. As per many of my videos, actually. I was going to say my most recent video, but that theme pops up fairly regularly. Maybe that is the theme of 10th edition. That's lacking theme. Alright, look at this guy. He's got his 6 glowing eyes. We got a bit of overspill in the corner. Can we live with it? Can we live with it, or do we try and fix it? I think he's looking pretty good. I think once we add in the teeth color, which are going to be white, I think it'll help everything read a bit better. Autofocus is letting me down today. Simona says he looks like he's waving hello. Not the look I was going for, okay? I'm gonna pretend I didn't read that. It's supposed to be cool. It's supposed to be cool and intimidating. That's working. It's working. Try mixing a bit more of our off-white, brighten up a bit. Oh yeah. That'll read. You have to trust me. Why is the focus so terrible today? What is the meaning of this? I don't trust my fidgety fingers to remain locked in if I fix the focus length. So I prefer autofocus, but right now I feel like it's hurting more than it's helping. See, here it's working. Kind of. Maybe it's the palette that's in view that's throwing everything off. Maybe if I move things around a bit. Or maybe it's this guy. Get out of here. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's better. I wonder if we slide the palette back in. Look, we're troubleshooting. We're doing it live. Yeah, we can live with that. Okay, and then my water can go back up there. Bam! Done it. Misfit says Gengar Leaper goes ooh. I don't like that. No! No, these aren't Slanesh demons, okay? These are deadly creatures, devoid of personality, only looking to consume. Unless you're a Psyker, then they get extra aggressive. That's the lore. That's the headcanon. Gengar likes to eat Psykers, obviously. Obviously, that's a little homage to the source material, to the reference in the name. The ghost types gotta eat the Psyker types. So I started leaning into lictors more. And when these Von Ryan Leapers came out at the start of 10th, I was like, oh, that's perfect. Little baby lictors. And then they added the Neurolictor too. Look, real talk, like, the Leviathan addition to the Tyranids range really actually served Gengar well. Fortunately enough. From a thematic list build point of view, definitely a win. Oh, we got a bit of cleanup to do. Look at that. Got some overspill. Look, this guy's eyes are looking good. Omegon's twin. Greetings, Omegon's twin. Says, hello, brothers. What have I missed? Just some rambling. Just some hanging out. We're painting eyes of the moment. We're talking about teleporting dreadnoughts. Or, sorry, teleporting hellbrutes for the Thousand Suns because of Space Marine 2. Do they? Did anyone reply? I didn't see if I missed the message or not. Does the Thousand Suns in 10th edition, do they have the power to teleport the hellbrutes? If not, I think it's a failure. That is some cool tech. And what a cool flex that would be for the Thousand Suns, right? I mean, if GW's going to make every hellbrute do something different, right? For thematic flexing. Why not make theirs teleport? Even if it's once per battle, it's just so good. I think once per battle is worth it. Just like an ability that would work. Pick up your model at the start of your movement phase instead of making a normal move and set it up wherever. Maybe you make it once per battle if they're setting up closer than 9 inches, right? Because that teleporting hellbrute in Space Marine 2 is definitely teleporting within 9 inches. He teleports right in your face. He's teleporting into engagement range, that guy. So maybe, for tabletop's sake, once per battle, special ability, teleport into engagement range. And then if you're staying outside 9 inches, don't limit it. Just so you can do it whenever you want to. Okay, let's do a little bit of overspill here. Oh, you know what? It's not going to work. We need to add a little bit of that off red, or off that pink. Okay, I guess it's readable enough. I'm not liking that rear, that first one here. See if we can make that pop a bit better. I don't know. I don't know about that. I'm running out of palette space. My palette's got a lot going on, guys. I don't mean to brag. It's a lot of paint going on here. It's like a war zone. Eric Brandenburg says, this fall I really want to send out with a 40k some of my fig jam. Fig jam. Is that a euphemism? Or is it a spreadable dessert for toast? Like jam as in blueberry jam, but made with figs? Interesting. Well, I'd be amenable to receiving fig jam. Tramari says, hello, Tramari. Tramari says, hello. Good to see these guys again on the channel. Yes, indeed. Look, I've been having a delay with obtaining the parts for the big bad Gengar Norn Phantom. That's what I've decided to call it. The Gengar's Norn Beast, custom Norn Beast. Because of course every Hive fleet would have its own derivative of the Norn base, right? Be a Norn Phantom for Gengar, naturally. So I have the design more or less solidified, but got a bit of delay on the parts. So I was hoping that project would have been done. In the interim, I've been painting some Stormcast. That's where we're at. But look, I made a promise to myself and to you guys, but also to myself, that I'd do this Norn, this Gengar centerpiece. A Mega Gengar, if you will. Oh, we got cleanup spots to do here as well on this guy. Look at this. Right on the thigh. Something about the thighs on all of them, I think. That. Okay. Well, look, we did the eyes. Mission 1 complete for today. All the eyes are more or less good enough. Look, now they can see you. Now there's no excuse for them to fail those hit rolls. Now if they fail to hit, I just feel bad. Okay, so we got some pure red on the palette. I want to probably use that up for our Blood Angel's helmet on the leader. That's what I'm thinking. We got some brown. There's some brown we can work with. Over here, I want to mix that over. It's certainly more efficient to use paints straight out of the pot, but I enjoy the adventure of mixing paints. What will we get? I don't know, but maybe we'll come up with something amazing, right? I feel like it's part of the fun. Not what I would recommend for getting armies painted as quickly as possible. And we'll slowly start building in some more pure red. Like, this is going to get washed also with some Agrax Earthshade once all the, like with the rocks and the rest of the base texture. So it doesn't have to be pristine. We just want to give it a little bit of definition. A little bit. Simona says, brothers, I have a confession to make. I'm a total Warhammer newbie. I've been introduced 2 weeks ago. I've been listening to lore ever since, but no army yet. Oh, yes, as Omegon's twin says, welcome. Yeah, there's a lot to like in Warhammer, a lot to get annoyed with, but I think the good outweighs the bad, but you have to be wary of certain pitfalls, I think, because it's an expensive hobby. That's my 2 cents. I think Warhammer's super rewarding if you are creative. If you have a creative itch, a creative bone within you, I think it's a very rewarding hobby. You know, yeah, you have a vision. You're like, I have a project in mind. Doesn't have to be a whole army. It could just be a kill team. It could just be a little squad, a band of bros. And then you see it through, and then you feel good. And bonus, if you can put on the tabletop and roll some dice and live the dream. Take that merry band on an adventure. Well, what I said earlier about finding the colors you like along the way by mixing, I don't particularly like what we have here. But I suspect it'll all be muddied down by the wash anyways. It's not the end of the world, right? A wash and a dry brush, it should more or less blend in with the background a little more. Let's use up the rest of this red mixture. You know, some people ask why do you put Blood Angels on your Tyranids bases? And I tell them, it's because the devastation of Ball should have been a Tyranid victory. So this is a little bit of retribution. A little bit of creative retribution for that annoying story. I mean, I say annoying. It was largely enjoyable. A little bit too much of Mephiston wank, if you ask me. But barring that, I liked a lot of what the book had to offer. And then at the end, it got really lame. Okay, we'll leave that like that. That's more or less all the red's used up. Try and use up the paint so it doesn't go to waste, you know? I got some dark green. Blood Angel's helmets are green, right? Or sorry, the eye lenses of Blood Angel's helmets are green? I think so. I think that's the case. We're just gonna put some dull green in there. Yeah, that'll do. That'll do. Kamikaze Senpai, welcome to the stream. I'm not neglecting you guys in chat, okay? Sometimes just the art demands my full attention, and so it's an eternal conflict. Kamikaze Senpai says, so the Blood Angels is a line of battle brother. At what the 40k would be cool if he was a veteran. A veteran with a gold helmet, right? Yeah, I have a veteran helmet on my custom lictor. I don't have them handy to show you guys live, but you can see it on a YouTube short. So that's on the channel there, right? You can see the cool spin job we did or I did for the Gengar's custom lictor. Yeah, there's a dead veteran on his base, which is gold helmets, if I recall correctly. I hope that's correct. I thought about making this Gravis helmet a fire support for blue, for Blood Angels, but while I love Blood Angel's heraldry, I think the way they've kind of laid that out with different colors, denoting different Force Org slots, it's super cool stuff, love it. But then if I painted a blue, you might not... If it's only a helmet, and I paint it blue, people might think it's Ultramarines, right? If I paint it yellow, people might think it's Imperial Fists, so I think red is the right choice. I think it's the right choice. Simona says creative itch is there, but no money. Starting job next month, so I've been doing my homework. Oh, nice. Okay, good. Very, very cool. Yeah, there's a lot of different directions to go with Warhammer. A lot of factions, a lot of Space Marine lore to kind of... If you're into Space Marines, there's a myriad of options. There's also Age of Sigmar. Look, I'm not yet an Age of Sigmar guy. I'm just dabbling, just sticking a toe into the water, right? But there's some nice models there. And if you like fantasy, obviously that's the route to go if you're more of a fantasy over sci-fi person. Or old world, right? Old world probably offers... I want to say a more tactical experience, because my experience with both systems are limited. But I think the rank and file offers, I think, a tighter tactical setup with your formations of your units, right? And the kind of war gear they're using based on the formation and changing that formation as you play, depending on the tactical needs. I feel like tactically it's tighter, or at least more tactical. And maybe Age of Sigmar is more of a smashier game. But if it's all aesthetics, I think Age of Sigmar wins out. Basically because the old world models are just so old. Most of them. But the old models have their charm. Omicron Swin says, at with the 40k, I put war trophies on my Death Watch based off of what that model killed. I need to buy a Norn head for a guy who 1v1'd a Norn and punched it to death. Well, I'm torn, because I want Norns to be amazing. But the Norn isn't ruled the way I would like it to be. But in any case, that's quite the heroic moment for that one guy. Punched a Norn to death. Hey, how big's that one guy's base gonna be, though? That's crazy. Yeah, I don't think there's a... You need like a character base. You need like a 50, maybe a 40. I think of the Terminator Captain who has a Screamer Killer head on his base, and he's on a 50. I think you just gotta do a Crusade badge if it's just a lone member of a squad, honestly. Okay, maybe we'll do a bit of cleanup. I got a little box of washes here. So we got our purple wash, which we'll use, and to clean up the skin, we'll probably just go over it with the Vallejo German Gray. Oh, I'm holding it, but you guys can't see shit. There it is. German Gray. So we'll start with Jerky Violet, because there's a spot I can already see I missed on this guy's foot, his rear foot. It's too bright, it's too obvious, something's wrong. Right? You guys see it too, I'm not crazy. So we'll put that in there, in the crevasse, and it'll sit and fix. It'll fix all of our problems. Simona says, don't know how much I care for tabletop yet. I just love creating characters / armies and most important dioramas. Yeah, then probably just go with the aesthetic. Go with the aesthetic and, the aesthetic of the army or faction or game, whether it's sci-fi or fantasy, to kind of guide you. Okay, let's get this German Gray going. Where am I gonna put it? Here's a spot. We'll keep using the golden maple size one. I do have a new affiliate link. FYI, guys, if you're looking for good quality sable hair brushes at a reduced price, I actually have a discount code. It's all in the description. I have a discount code for golden maple. Just doing a quick scan for those error spots, but I guess it's on the other two. Yeah, look at sloppy work here. We just gotta clean it up. Just checking out the Warhammer community. As we're hanging out and hobbying, we have some Cathay stuff. Cathay models actually look really good. There's something to that. That's awesome. And then, the new Heresy stuff. The new Heresy stuff has got me feeling a certain way. I definitely sense a bit of division. A bit of division, right? I saw on the Outer Circles channel, friend Maka, friend of the channel, is basically with his local play group creating their own preferred rule set based off of first edition with some fixes, and from what I can tell, I didn't watch the whole video, but adopting some elements of second, just because they don't like the direction of third edition. And I wonder if this is sort of the beginning of a turning point in the culture of the hobby, right? Because now it's become the status quo. It's pretty apparent GW just going to move editions and implement change for the sake of change and not necessarily fix problems, but introduce new mechanics to market the new edition every 3, maybe every 4 years, right? That's the current ecosystem. It's very apparent. We all get it. When it started in 8th and 7th, it was all happening so fast, right? But now with the benefit of time, we can look back and see how things are moving, right? We have a better sense of the paradigm we find ourselves in, or the paradigm of rules management, that is. And so I wonder if we're going to begin seeing like a sea change here, right? Because we have Outer Circle and his play group just deciding, you know what, we liked first edition, so let's stick with that. We like these new models. We can integrate those in easily enough. We know how they should be statted. And then we have guys like Mini Wargaming who are basically preferring older editions of Warhammer 40k. Right? So I wonder if we're going to start seeing this become a thing where you'll have playgroups saying, you know what, I liked 8th edition. Let's play 8th edition. I like 9th edition. Let's stick with that. I feel like that rule set is better serving the experience I want. And unless you're a tournament try-hard, that sounds rude, but you get what I mean. Unless you're bound into the tournament upkeep, you're hooked in, you're locked into the tournament cycle, the ups and downs, the shifting of the meta, then why bother if you don't like that experience of that edition, right? So unless the edition is actually offering you something better, it doesn't really make sense to go with the way the wind's blowing, right? Just because GW is saying, oh, this is what Warhammer is now. It's like, I don't know. We have a rule set that's already working. Right? Going from 7th to 8th, 8th to 9th, it was kind of exciting because it was new, but now that we can see the momentum of it all, I wonder if we're going to start seeing more and more people deciding to not just shift and adopt what's new if it's not actually better. I think there's probably a thoughts on video that could be made about that topic. But these are my thoughts live for you guys. Look, that's your treat for tuning into these streams. A little teaser maybe of a new video. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so for the most part, this guy's cleaned up sufficiently. Omegon's twin says, at What the 40k, it was a Gravis captain who was running 2 relic fists with extra attacks, and he boxed the Norn with some horrid rerolls from the Nid player, or some horrible rolls from the Nid player. It died in 2 rounds of combat. Oof. Yeah. That... I don't know how I feel about that. I'd want the Norn to be... You know, if it was up to me, it would be like a greater demon in terms of potency. And I don't know if it is. I'm pretty sure greater demons are on a higher weight class, so to speak. Not that the Norn is bad, but it's definitely... I feel like it's not on that same kind of level. Feels... And I'd want my Norn... Look, I'll tell you for free, my converted Norn is going to be on a bigger base. It's going to be a bit beefier, because I want it to be this big, imposing centerpiece. So, tournament play, matched play be damned, I'm doing what's cool. I mean, you'd you'd want the rules to be in such a way that you could you could spawn your bugs at whatever size you want and, pay more points for them. Give them more wounds. Right? Because you're not coming out of an STC where everything is templated. You're being spawned as desired. by that particular hive fleet. Right? I mean, in the past, we would at least get an enhancement. Right? You could give your monsters enhancements. Even in 9th edition, you could do that. Like, oh, this guy has, what did they call it? Murderous size. He's just a bit bigger. This guy's a bit bigger than the other ones, right? So that's not impossible. I do think we'll probably see in 11th edition a correction of flavor. And we might get more of that kind of, those sorts of rules back in. Though I don't think we'll get Force Org. I'm very torn about that because I like Force Org. I think it's very important with regards to ensuring players field armies that feel like armies, and not just power gaming for rule of 3 and taking all the characters you can, because each time you do it makes that unit it's attached to better. Which is a lot of what list building basically has boiled down to at this point. But when I look at army ranges like Leagues of Votann, World Eaters, and now Emperor's Children, I'm like, can you even do Force Org without it looking embarrassing? Because at least if you don't have Force Org, your armies that are so underserved don't look as embarrassing, right? Because there's no labels on them like that. So it does feel to me like there is an incentive to not have Force Org, because then you can have these underserved model ranges, and then you're like, well, look, that's the army. You got some units, and you got half of it's, you have like 12 units, and 6 of them are characters, and that's an army now. I mean, if it was up to me, I'd say screw it, force them to work with Force Org for the sake of the game. You only have 1 troop slot, too bad. That's what you got. Only 1 fast attack, tough noogies. I don't know, what do you guys think about Force Org? I feel like everyone's in agreement that Force Org makes the game better. I don't know. Is my judgment askew on that one? Okay. Looking pretty good. I guess we'll work on our teeth. Working the fangs. The fangs and the teeth and the tendrils. That's what we'll do. We'll clean the brush. We'll clean our brush. We want to take care of our nicer brushes, of course. And get a lower quality synthetic brush. And we're just going to take some of this dark sea gray. It's not the ideal color, and it's almost done. So I'm going to replace my go-to cool gray color for something closer to Celestra. From the model color range, though. But it won't be this. I'm looking forward to getting past dark sea gray, because every time I want to use it for my cool off-white, I'm always mixing in White Scar, and that is annoying. There it is, White Scar. Classic. Some may say infamous white paint. Captain Poseidon says, if I remember correctly, they had a similar insanity to Xandrek, where they think they still drink tea, but they can't. The whole Tomb World has become one big tea factory. Oh, that's quirky. I'm not opposed to the quirky lore. I do like I do like when things. I mean, I'm more biased to liking things more if they're taking the setting seriously. But there's a place for some good fun. I don't. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna deny that. Okay, so here's our cool white mixed in with a bit of white scar. We're just gonna paint these tendrils. I'll try and focus for you guys here. Yeah, so this isn't... Honestly, I like the look. I think the overall dark color scheme, the overall black skin or dark gray, helps those white teeth and tendrils, in the case of lictors, to read. Contrast, right? Contrast is the key for a scheme's readability. Now we're rapping, yo. It just comes naturally to me. This is my gift and my curse. I mean, the only thing to be wary of is hitting areas of the skin you don't want white, because then your errors are made more apparent because of that contrast. Yeah, the two primary mandibles I will keep with our darker skin color because I think it makes sense when you look at how they're structured. They don't look like the tendrils, the feeder tendrils that you see on lictors. And I kept them black on the other 3 leapers I have, so we're committed. Oh god, we have to thread the needle. Here we go. There's no other way to do it. Look, we ruined it. Honestly, could have been worse. Could have been worse. Shamar says, whatever you do, don't sneeze. Oh, I'll try to hold my breath. Like a marksman. Oh, look, we missed the other side here. Oh, well. You know what? Errors on the underneath I don't think are... It'll be my little secret. No one will know. Except for me and those of you in chat. Okay, see, we're getting some better readability. Getting some better readability of the scheme. It's coming together. So we hit this with a cool wash. A Colia green shade mixed with some Lamy medium. Bit of a crutch of mine. I won't deny that. I just think it makes the whites better. Clip it. Actually, don't clip it. Oh, look at this guy. He's got some web and oh, you know what? Now I remember. On the other three leapers, I did do a slight blend to the dark skin. Because there's no hard transition, like there's no gum line. The geometry just kind of feeds into the existing skin. So I did do a bit of blending on the other three, if I recall correctly. So we can consider that as well. Now, you know, some people might say that's crazy talk. You're going to do some blending on the tendrils of a Tyranid's face. Just a bug. But look, these are 40mm elite squads. Right? If we had Force Org, look, these guys would probably be elite. Well, maybe they'd be fast attack. Either fast attack or elite. My point is, they would be special. Now, I've been thinking about Force Org slots with regards to a narrative campaign that's currently ongoing with my local playgroup. A campaign that I'm managing. And I've been thinking about Force Org slots as a way to kind of organize and control what can be deployed, what people can field as they grow their force. That's part of the polls I was putting out on the channel, right? And I got to thinking, I think there needs to be more Force Org slots. I was looking at where we left off in 9th edition, and it feels too crowded in a lot of areas. Like, you'd think, functionally also, forward operatives like these Von Ryan Leapers would be their own Force Org slot. Right? Why would they be in elites? Right? Same with artillery. Wouldn't artillery and emplacements be their own sort of Force Org slot separate from heavy support? Which is where, you know, your heavy weapon teams usually are, your giant tanks usually are. Feels a little weird. Feels like it could benefit from extra Force Org types. What do you guys think about that? Am I onto something? Is that the proper path? Oh my god, Swin says, out with the 40k. Mr. 40k, your viewers are addicted to tea. They need a therapist. Hey, teas are pretty good. I went through a tea phase myself. I kind of like Earl Grey, though. It's almost like liquid dessert. It's a good time. It's a good time. Paint, games, I don't know anything. Welcome to the stream. Yay, Von Ryan Leapers. Yes, indeed. We're finishing off the Leapers. We're doing some teeth at the moment. Doing some teeth. So each of them have a few teeth right up front. Yeah, see, there's just no... It's such a stark transition, and I don't like it, so I do kind of want to blend a little bit. Okay, you know what, I guess we'll do that now. I mean, some of these need additional coats also. And while the paint's wet, we can do some blending. Actually, I should use the German gray. It's still alive on the palette. Okay, what are we working with? that's still... And it's a good in-between color. We can blend from there. That's not bad. It's actually what you want. It's actually what you want. We're gonna blend to the German gray first. And then we'll get our dark sea gray mix and blend back up. And try and use our brush strokes to kind of help sell the blend. Look at that. Look at that. It came together. It's like magic. We did it. Now that I look at it on OBS, it doesn't look as good. You'll have to trust me. Once we get a little bit of wash over top, it should help marry and unify everything. You guys are really into tea, huh? Still chatting about you will drink tea never? Look, tea is it's rude not to. If someone offers you tea, oh my God, twin, you gotta drink it. It's rude. It is of poor etiquette. Correct that little error here too. Perfect. Perfect. Man, this Persona playlist is definitely win. Just banger after banger. Good vibes, that's for sure. Okay, so it occurs to me, we should probably blend the mouth on the first guy. It's just where we're at. How are we for time? Oh, we're only an hour in. We're good. I think we're on schedule. Because look, after this, it's just sharps, and the sharps are kind of a low visibility detail, so I don't think there's much pressure to get really nice blends. You just do a little bit of blending and some highlighting, and the sharps are done. Crap, I nicked the tendril here. Don't you guys hate when you nick your tendrils? Nothing against the Brits, by the way. They're just bad at tea, says Captain Poseidon. Wow. Whoa, that might be a hate crime. I mean, I'm not a a T defender per se, but I have a feeling that would ruffle some feathers. Alright, now we're on to the leader's mouth. Boom. We're making progress. We're making progress. Get in there. How's that helmet look? You know, from arm's length away, it looks pretty good, actually. I think once you get some Agrax on there, it won't be too bad. It's a little pinkish, but it should be dulled back down with the wash. Not too concerned. Alrighty. I think I have enough of our mixed color here to finish off this last guy. His mouth is a mess. Just a spaghetti monster. Yeah, definitely gross. It's too bad Von Ryan Leapers don't have any brain-eating rules the way lictors do. They definitely got the mouth for it. I actually wonder if there's any lore defining around them in that regard. I stopped buying codexes after, well, basically during 9th edition. So I did not get a chance to read the 10th edition bit of lore around the Von Ryan Leapers. I mean, typically, codexes have one page for each unit. Or maybe half page, maybe, depending on the... Look, at minimum, you get a paragraph. Sometimes you got multiple units on the same page. My point is, maybe they specifically don't eat brains. But I feel like they do. What's the word, chat? Do they eat brains? I know the Lictor gives you a CP if you eat a character. If he slays a character in melee. And you get the tactical advantage because you ate his brain. But that might be a bit strong for Von Ryan Leapers. And they don't really have precision or anything like that for assassination. It's not really their shtick. But there should be some benefit for killing something and feeding on its brain. I mean, broadly speaking, I think Tyranids could benefit from just more rules like that. More rules that are alien. flesh is weak, but the tea is strong. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. It has a good ring to it. Yeah, Iron Hands are a super based chapter. It is sort of a blessing that they're untouched by GW, right? It's a double-edged sword. Yeah, you don't get as much lore and love and novels, but you also don't get any lame showings either. Is that a hair? One of the most annoying things ever is after you apply a wash and then it dries and then you find a hair, like a bristle from your brush that has come apart and has now been fused into the dried wash. It's like one of my hobby pet peeves, I guess. Grievances, annoyances. And I can just never unsee it. It happened recently on the little griffin that comes with the one of the AOS characters. Which is it? The Lord Verditant, I think. There's a bit of a Primaris-esque naming convention going on in the Stormcast Eternals, I find. It makes me chuckle. You guys still chatting about tea, huh? Look, I don't hate it. I've been told if chat is chatting, that's a good thing. So, you know what? Have at it, guys. I'll encourage it. Something I do want to verify is if the cafe range for Old World, how transferable is it for a Cities of Sigmar army? Is it 100%? Is it 75%? Because that is an interesting prospect, I think. Okay, so the blend is a bit weak. Gonna come back in and uh-oh. Okay, let's try this. Yeah, I don't know why I'm using the crappier brush for this blend. Don't think it would make it any easier, that's for sure. Eric Brandenburg says, "Out with the 40K. How can they drink tea in Canada if the cup is in Florida?" Excellent question. You can't. You just can't. Omegon's twin says, at with a 40k, cities of Sigmar are just medieval knights, I think. Not too hard to proxy slash transfer models, if I am correct. Yeah, it seems to be that way. I'd just be curious to see if the units in that battle box... I probably will take the time and just verify this unit, these Jade Warriors, or whatever they're called, can turn into these Steel Helms, or whatever they're called, right? And see how that falls. Because I want to say it probably translates over pretty... Like, the majority of units should be applicable. An easy counts as or proxy. Except for maybe those giant statues. But I don't think... I don't know. I wouldn't want that for a Cities of Sigmar collection. I'd want a humble group of merry men, right? Like, that's what you want. And then cannons. Okay, that is in need of some blending. For sure. For sure. Too stark. Too stark. The paints are strong, but the blends are weak. That would be like a great name for a painting channel. A painting channel where you definitely have to do Iron Hands at some point. But after that, I think you're free to paint whatever you want. Okay, so just the front teeth on this guy, and then we're gonna wash all the mouths with some Colia Green Shade. I don't think anything else is visible on this side. That's basically as good as it's gonna get. Okay, custom wash with some technical medium of the Lamian variety, and where is it? No, there it is. Coelia Green Shade, and we'll just use this bottle cap. Okay, we won't do the leader first in case the ratio is poor. We'll start with a lesser member of the squad. Honestly, I think that's best practice for armies in general. I always kind of whinge, is that a word? Or cringe. I always kind of cringe when a hobbyist, especially a new hobbyist, tells me like, oh, I'm just starting the hobby, just buying all these models, getting really excited, and I bought Gilliman, and I'm gonna make my Ultramarines amazing. I'm gonna paint him first, and I bite my tongue because I don't want to yuck the you know what I mean? But man, I feel like for sure it's a mistake to paint the the best centerpiece model, the star, if you will, of your army first. Because you're going to paint something else better. Just the laws of skills, right? Your skills are only going to improve as you see things through. You don't paint the centerpiece first. You want all the experimentation, all of the guesswork to be figured out. Definitely a pitfall. You could probably, you know what, I probably could use that as a point in a top 5 hobby tips for new hobbyist videos, or a new hobbyist sort of video. That kind of content is reliable, if uninspired. Maybe we'll bank that one for 11th edition. Okay, let's test the wash. See how the consistency is. Oh, perfection! Just the level of saturation I want. Just the right amount of darkening. There's a little bit of the teeth. I mean, mouths are kind of messy, right? I imagine there's ichor and saliva and alien juice all over his mouth. So it's okay if the wash hits the mandibles. This is a little too heavy in some areas. We gotta spread that around. Yeah, maybe I could have used a smaller brush. That should be okay though, honestly. Should be alright. What's on the Warhammer communities today? Community painters turn their brushes to the immortal empire. Oh, cafe for pre-order, right? Right, that does make sense. Community painters. Well, look, I won't throw shade at Warhammer community for that, because they're actually, that's like the one community thing they do. It's a shame it's only for current product that's on for pre-order. Right, it'd be nice if the Warhammer community would show community paint jobs of, I don't know, Necrons. Yeah, calling it a community feels very manipulative, as per the show community. That was a great show, though. Man, that show was something special, I tell you. It's too bad it kind of petered out the way it did. Eric Brandenburg says, at with the 40K, I used to play with a guy who used a hot glue gun to achieve drippy goo effect on his Tyranids. Interesting. I mean, that definitely would work. I think they sell a... I think there's a hobby product for that specifically. I've definitely seen some reels of people applying gooey stuff on their Tyranid talons and whatever else, which is a cool effect. I just suspect that I don't know how those would take to dust accumulation and cleaning and removing said dust. I just don't know. But for the artistry of it all, top shelf stuff. Okay, there's our mouthwash. Our mouthwash done. Well, I have a sample guy from our first batch here, right? So, yeah, you can see how the mouth is supposed to look technically. So this has had a wash and a glaze, and I think a bit of blood and green glaze over top too. So it's definitely muddier. But you can see the teeth are more readable, right? So they've been picked out. They've been picked out a little bit. So we'll probably do that now. Still got some white on the palette. See, while it's a little weird for Tyranids to have very clean teeth, for the sake of the scheme, for the sake of that Gengar energy, you need a white gleamin' smile. It works well on Hormigants. It will work good on the Norn. I think that Norn project I have in the wings is gonna be... I think it's gonna be great stuff. If I'm honest with you guys, I think it's gonna be much liked. Definitely a fitting final project for the army, I think. There we go. So his teeth are a bit more readable, that's good. Oh, chat, tell me what you think about this, okay? Next week's thematic list build, Death Watch. What do we think? I figured it should go on a cycle of Imperium, Xenos, and Chaos. Just loop in like that. So I have Imperium in mind. I'm thinking Death Watch. I think we're going to do a kill team focused, very elite feeling Death Watch army. Is that vibing? Is that vibing with chat, or should we do something non-Space Marine? Oh my God's Twin says yes. Love Death Watch, nice idea. Okay, right on. Right on, we'll do the Death Watch. Just the little push I needed. Oh boy. Here, this guy's mouth is a little more crowded. Let's see if we can get this last tooth. definitely have to do a bit of cleanup on them. As we're nicking those mandibles. Simona says if you ever need a push, just say so. Nice. Captain Poseidon says I will inform corn to replace the blood with tea. Look, corn's not going to be done for that. That's sacrilege. I'm not a corn expert. Not a corn scientist, but pretty sure that's not the intended. The intended liquid which must flow. It is a good troll move on Zinch's part, though. I'll give you that. Okay, look, there's the mouths. The mouths and the eyes. So the faces are up to par with our existing leapers. So we're on to sharps, which will be made up of 2 paints. Hardened Carapace from Army Painter and Dawnstone, I think. Dawnstone. Just some light blending, nothing crazy. And really the blends are only going to be on the large sharps. Just because there's so much surface area, I feel they just benefit. The effort is more justifiable, is what it is. Alright, so I think we can just use this brush here. We're just going to slap it on. So it's not the most different color for sharps, right? Like usually on your GW Tyranid schemes, you'll get a bright, hot contrast in color. Right, like you'll see red talons. On Leviathan, for example. Is it? Shit, now I can't remember. My point is, usually, Tyranid color schemes contrast heavily on their sharps. But for Gengar, I have intentionally kept it subdued. That way, our few contrasting elements, such as the teeth, remain the stars. As with regards to the, those being the contrasting parts that draw the eye. And I think those are just like the little things you want to consider when it comes to color scheming. If there's a particular focus, right? For me, it was the Gengar mouth. The contrasting high visibility teeth against a dark scheme, dark background color, a dark skin color. And I think having high contrasting sharp claws damages that focus. How are we for time? An hour 30. Look, usually these streams are about 2 hours. A 2-hour hobby crunch. right? So look, it's subtle, but we've broken up the colors. We've broken up the materiality. And the army painters' color, the way they pigment their paints, it has a bit different of a finish, a bit more of a satin finish. And because the skin is much more matte, we have contrast for our scheme on materiality, not just color, which I think is something else you can think of, or something else you can consider, rather, when it comes to color scheming. Eric Brandenburg says, at what the 40k, how long before Vashtor tires of Abaddon and decides he needs to enthrall a Primarch of his own, and looks over at Perturabo? Vashtor's an odd one. I don't necessarily like his inclusion. I think his model's cool. You know what? I like the model. I don't like how he's framed as this guy who wants to become a Chaos God. I'm kind of like cold on that concept. I also would feel really lame if this Belisarius Call analog on the Chaos side has demon Primarchs working for him. Like, Perturabo should not be playing second fiddle to Vashtor, is my point. That feels so off-putting to me. I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of an Iron Warriors guy. I'm already cold, I'm already bitter, right? Like, I don't want that. No way. That sounds lame. That sounds super lame. Yuck. From a lore point of view, to answer your question, I don't know. I would hope Vashtor is characterized in a way where he just wants to wheel and deal and be the arms dealer of demon engines for Abaddon and all the various traitor legions and warbands. Is that how Vashtor is being framed, Eric Brandenburg? I know he has aspirations to be a Chaos God. I don't like it. And if they're going to do that, I think you have to make the word bearers have a problem with it. They should not like that at all. That is so blasphemous to the word bearers' point of view. I think so. I don't speak for all word bearers players, right? But I would think a fair few would have a problem with this guy who's like, what, you want to join the pantheon of what we've been venerating and seeing as the true powers for like 10,000 years? That's crazy. Get out of here. And I would like Abaddon to be just a super cool, competent war master, where he would, I don't want to say manipulate Vashtor, but know how to leverage Vashtor, right? To see the utility in what he's trying to do and how it can serve the ultimate goal. Okay, I've switched to a smaller brush because we got these little tiny sharps on the mantis talons up top. And I've realized that might actually slow things down a bit. So you want to kind of be careful not to muck up the work that's already been done. Omegon's Twin says, at what the 40k, hear me out. Both Vashtor and Perturabo agree to this, both thinking the other is stupid and using them to further their separate goals, and both plan to betray each other. Well, Omegon's Twin, it sounds believable. That's fine, as long as it's framed that way. Captain Poseidon, you take care and have yourself a good weekend. Thanks for tuning in. We've had quite a lively stream. No complaints from me. Good hobby camaraderie, that's for sure. Which is what these streams are all about. Coming up on stream number 100 fairly soon. I don't have any plans in mind. I just sort of expected it to be like a cool landmark to reach, you know? Look at that. Now no one can question my hobby integrity. Okay, so I realize now that while I've been painting these tiny little sharps on the mantis talons, the piercing talons, you guys can't see anything because the camera is bad at focusing on them. Let's return to our synthetic brush. And slap on the paint to these large scything talons. Eric Brandenburg says, then Vastor recalls all the demon engines, and Abaddon and Vastor are allegorical to Cobra Commander and Destro, respectively. I guess nobody got that reference. Look, I know the characters, but I'm not into G.I. Joe enough to see how it fits. But I trust you, Eric. I trust your opinions on references. It's probably a good fit. Probably makes a heap of sense. I saw that G.I. Joe movie in like 2008 or whatever. And that's about as far as my G.I. Joe knowledge goes. And the memes, obviously, right? You know, those the memes, the G.I. Joe memes that are super popular. Just how do we paint this one? How are we gonna paint this one? I want to be fairly mindful of the rack. The rack here. Well, that didn't go as planned. But look, no journeys without peril, right? Sometimes things are just gonna go sideways. And that's just part of it. It's part of the quest. What's up with this tail spike? Is that a sharp? Yeah, it's a sharp. Eric Brandenburg says, I eagerly await Henry Cavill's 40K project. Is that still ongoing? I thought... Look, I don't keep up with it because I don't like to pay it mind, but... I thought I saw something about it not happening. Or is it just in development hell? I think I saw a quote where he was saying it's a difficult IP to work with. And then the post was framing it negatively. So I might have just inferred that. Might have just been an incorrect inference. I noticed his tail has a little soft section right here that just was never painted, so you gotta fix that. Right? Like, this guy doesn't have it painted either. But this guy, well, I took care of him. So you gotta paint these little tail joints, which isn't complicated. Just an annoying thing that happens. You know, sometimes you just forget to paint a little part, and you notice it later after you take photos and post it to Instagram or make a YouTube short. And then you're like, fuck. How did I not see this? How did I miss that error this whole time? Better that I found it now than later, though, right? Definitely. The answer is definitely. And that's what I will tell myself. Eric Brandenburg says could be development hell. I think so. Look, if there's a 40K show, I would want it to be Eisenhorn, honestly. I think that's the best way to do it. I think it's... If they do Horus Heresy, and that's what all the the fanboys kind of squeal for, right? That's what they want. But I think it's just too divisive. I think there's too many problems. I think you have to lose-lose, right? Because I think there's legitimate story writing problems with the Horus Heresy novel series and the way they chose to adapt the plot points from the old lore. And if they don't follow the novel series, I think fans will get upset. And I think if they deviate to fix those issues, fans will get... Yeah, they'll get upset either way. They deviate to fix the issues, fans will get upset. And if they stick to those issues, guys like me will get upset. But it'd be good for content, actually. So you know what? I hope they do it. I hope they do a 40K, or sorry, 30K Horus Heresy series. And then, yeah, that'll just be like good for the channel. Because I think I could do some pretty comparable video essays on it. In the way I did for Arcane, I think. Like a real deep dive. Yeah, you know what? Let's hope they do it. And then look, best case scenario, we find ourselves in the timeline where they make the show absolutely perfect and it's a win for everybody. And then I have nothing to complain about. And I can just make videos saying it's good they did it the way they did it. Maybe defend those changes from the poor takes of people who think they're bad. Simona says, anyway, just finish the clothes on Goku. Just add details, and I'm 40% done. 70 hours in. That sounds legit, Simona. Awesome. You said it was battle damaged Goku. Is it like Goku on Namek fighting Frieza Goku, or is it a different iteration of Goku? I mean, for the most part, his appearance is always the same, right? Just depending on the form of Super Saiyan. And then I think you have some slight outfit alterations in Super and other series. I do like his costume in GT, though. That blue and yellow. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool look. Okay, that tail segment is still drying, so let's do the other guys. Oh, this is like barely visible. Barely visible as I hold it off of screen. Ironic. Omegon's twin says, how about the 40k? Did you see the buffs to Imperial and Chaos Knights by chance? They look busted. I heard of the buffs. I didn't look into them. More wounds, less toughness is the word I heard, but it sounds like you're better off with more wounds and less toughness. So you have people framing it like, oh, it's just a trade-off. I'm not as tough anymore. But if you have more wounds, it's kind of better. Actually, it's categorically better. Because damage is binary, so you need more guns. In most cases. It also depends on what defensive stratagems you have. Jeez. Okay, let's build up another coat of this. And while that dries, we're going to take some hardened carapace, mix it with some dawnstone, and do a little bit of a blend here. Oh god. That is stark. Let's get some water. Got to add some water, make it blend. Okay, that's better. Just scrub it away. Yeah, not bad. Not bad. Dawnstone's a good blending color, what can I say? Just subtle enough. Simona says it's the Battle Damage Ultra Instinct versus Jiren, Brother's Request. Nice. I didn't... I think I stopped watching Super right before that battle. I definitely watched, I feel like, the majority of the Ultimate Tournament, or whatever it's called. Eric Brandenburg says, at Simona, you know at what the 40k refuses to do my request. I want a 30k Alpha Legion, but painted in Salamander's colors and in blackface. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hold on here, Eric. What is... a 30k Alpha Legion? Is this a... what kind of request is this? This is like a... Surely it's not a thematic list build. Just a single model, an Alpha Legionnaire trying to infiltrate the Salamanders in blackface. Terrible. I do like that it makes fun of the armor shift trend, because I kind of cool on that aesthetic, to be honest. I think it's a very cool effect, don't get me wrong, but I think that's something you want to do on your centerpiece leader. I don't think you want to do it on your whole army. It's... I don't know. Something about it hits a gut intuition of mine. I had to do some soul searching, some deep thinking on why that is. But usually, and I don't mean to brag, usually my gut intuitions are totally correct. Okay, I just want to do these hoofs. A little bit of hoofs, get some variance on the hoofs. I always thought hoofs were an odd choice for Tyranids. Not really into it. I adored Butov's sculpts that had feet. Like my Hive Tyrant from Butov has feet. And it just looks way more alien for it. Like, what kind of bug has hooves, right? Like, you look at the Pyre, the new... That's one of the changes of the new Biovore and Pyrevore I do like. And it's why I like the Psychophage a lot as well. It gets away from the hoofs. How is the tail looking here? I think that one's adequate enough. We can wash them. Where's my purple? Okay, we're gonna just let this sit, and that should work just fine. Just a bit of wash to increase that saturation, increase that contrast. Odd choice to brand contrast paints the way they did. I think the other manufacturers, like the speed paints, quick paints, just a better way to go. Better communicates what they are for. Because prior to contrasts coming out, I would basically use washes in the same manner. You apply them over your miniatures and it brings out the details. Whoa, right? Same thing. Same, but different, but still same. Alright, so we're basically clocking into overtime here. But I would like to get these guys basically done, barring their bases. So maybe we'll carry on. What are you guys saying? What's the chat's energy levels like? We looking to continue? We're chilling. Is the hobby momentum gonna carry us through? See, the time snag is gonna be the small sharps on the Lictor Talons. You can pretty quickly just block in all the sharps, right? We're not even the blends are pretty unprecise. Yeah, I like the idea of a Lictor being able to lead a group of Von Ryan Leapers. And you know what? I'd be willing to bet that if the Tyranid Codex wasn't first, that's probably something the Vanguard detachment would probably offer you through an enhancement, because we've seen a bit of that. We've seen a bit of enhancements, like I think the Sisters of Battle have one where they can lead a unit they wouldn't ordinarily be able to lead. A leader, I mean. A leader that you give the enhancement to can lead a unit they aren't supposed to lead. Right? Because I think that's a super cool idea, right? A Lictor having his bodyguard, a little, like, he's like the alpha wolf of the pack. That's pretty cool. And actually, you know, that's actually super annoying, guys. Because, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I actually want that terribly. Because I've actually had a lot of enjoyment. It's one of the few... Look, there's not... I rag on the 40k rule set often, as you guys probably know. But one of the cool things you can do that's satisfying from a game mechanics point of view with a Lictor is using its ability to rapid ingress for free and then spending a CP for the heroic intervention stratagem, core stratagem, right? To heroically intervene that Lictor, you rapid ingressed into a fight. And he has fights first, and he decapitates an enemy leader. Now, it's not the most... Lictors aren't the most reliable going into something with an invulnerable save, especially a powered armored unit with an invulnerable save. But it's possible to kill it, and I've had, you know, MVP plays where a group of Chosen have advanced and charged, and the Lictor heroically intervened with that said strategy and decapitated the Chaos Lord from the unit because he has fights first. Beautiful. Legendary. And this annoys me because the Leaper's ability is heroic intervention for free. So in theory, it like pairs super, super well together. Right now, mind you. Actually, I was gonna say they all have fights first, so it's a non-issue. They all have fights first, so it's just the perfect pairing. Why? Why can't I do that? It's because the rules are bad. That's why. See, See, then you have this kind of option in your list, right? And because you attach leaders to units during deployment, basically, you don't have to commit to it. So you can keep your lictor separate for action monkeying, or you attach them for this combo. Which I think is just super cool. It's like one of the coolest plays you can make in the game. Because it actually feels like a play. It's not just, oh, I'm putting this unit out here, and I'm using this stratagem, and I'm using this unit's ability to buff that unit, and now it's super unkillable. Because stat stacking isn't what makes the tabletop fun. What are you guys saying? Omegon's Twin says paint for the paint throne. True. What Alpha Wolf theory? Yeah, what is the Alpha Wolf theory? I've heard of the Gilliman is Alpharius theory, but not this one. Gilliman is not Alpha. That's like the biggest cope I've ever heard. Just Alpha Legion. Look, no offense to Omegon's Twin, but there's definitely a thing in Warhammer where types of characters are attracted to types of factions, and I think I get this impression. You see it with Space Wolves. It's almost like infamous for Space Wolves. But for Alpha Legion, you have this like desire to always be this undercover, look how cool we are, surprise Uno reversal type vibe. I don't know how to frame it. There's probably a good video script in here, in that concept. And I'm like, I don't know. My point is, look, Gilliman has Alpharius, get out of here. Just read any of the new novelization. It's very clear it's not. It's just cope. What are you guys talking about? Simona says, it was thought that every wolf pack had an alpha leader, an absolute leader who decided everything, basically a dictator to simplify it. A few years later, it's proven that packs decide together on what to do. Oh, very cool. But then what's the stuff I've heard about, like, the alpha wolf is the one who gets, like, the best bites of the meal. They get to eat the liver and all this kind of stuff. What's that about? Is that also untrue? I mean, either way, that's fine for wolves, but with regards to my Lictor and Von Ryan Leaper example, I think you guys still are on the same page with me, right? It would be cool to have a Lictor lead Leapers. And if it needs to be something special, you just keep it locked to a specific detachment. So it's a special enhancement, and then, you know, it comes at the trade-off of other abilities. Omegon's twin says, out with the 40k, keep telling yourself that, and when Rubber Duck Gorilla Man stabs the Yunari in the back and declares Hydra Dominatus, I will be waiting for your apology video with an entire ukulele song. Sure, dude. Sure. Yep. Definitely doesn't sound like more cope to me. Here's the thing. It also pairs into this. It's a similar kind of line of reasoning as these other fan theories around, oh, what if such and so Primarch came back, but they switched sides? It creates this fundamentally unsatisfying treatment of that player base, right? That I think is objectively wrong. And it sounds crazy to make like a moral argument when talking about tabletop wargame toys, but I think Games Workshop ought to write the lore in such a way to reward the investment players have made, whether it be financial, emotional, effort, right? Whatever that investment is. They've bought into this faction and become fans of it. And to subvert that just to serve someone else it feels like the categorically wrong choice. That's as best of the way I can phrase it or frame it off the cuff without making like a formal video. But like you'd always hear these arguments on like, or theories rather, on Reddit or whatever, on forums where people would be like, oh, what if Vulcan came back but it was actually bad? What a twist, how cool would that be? And you're like, is that cool for the people who've bought into their loyalist chapter that belongs to that Primarch and have just been kind of waiting for that reward for their Primarch to return to the chapter? That's the lore they've bought into. And to subvert that feels it feels bad on a level of The Last Jedi. With like what they did to Luke Skywalker. It just feels character assassination worthy. All right, let's hit these. Oh, look, the golden maple brush actually makes it a lot easier. It's got a thick body. It can hold lots of paint, and apply that paint with a good point, which is definitely making this easier. At least this one's closed. That makes it a little easier. Omegon's twin says, with the 40k, what if Vulcan came back but constantly gave slightly passive-aggressive comments that could maybe count as compliments but just make you feel very awkward? Pat, I guess it depends on the context of those comments. Like, you want your Primarchs to come back in character and... Like, you're either... bring back Primarchs for wholesome satisfaction, or you're bringing them back to create a bit more of a contrast with their disappointment and state of things, and to really add to the grimdark atmosphere. But it doesn't seem like GW is going that way with their Primarchs and their returns. So you want them to be the exemplars they've been built up as, right? It's not just legends that have been stretched and have now become, fabrications. Seems like, yeah, Primarchs come back and they're as badass and as big of a deal and as competent as we've been told. So I would want Vulcan to be in character and not be emotionally unhinged, is what it comes down to, personally. Okay, I'll leave that on here. Okay, so let's just do a bit of quick blending, and then this will be Leaper 2 of 3 done. And then we'll have 1 to go, and then we'll be out of here. Mission completed. Let's pull the bristles this way. Yeah, that's how we wet blend. This is how we do it. Eric Brandenburg says Korax is preventing the return of Lorgar. That's what we've been told. See, Lorgar is just such a big deal that Korax has to. He has to dedicate all of his efforts to keeping Lorgar back. Yeah, the lesser Chaos Primarchs that aren't part of the God-marked legions, they have a harder time coming back because the God-marked ones can kind of operate in a way without taking agency away from Abaddon, at least to a greater degree. From a product identification point of view, you know, they're separate armies now. There's less overlap. GW can pretend like Abaddon can still have his authority in the space of these Demon Primarchs. But if the other ones are coming back, it becomes harder. I think much harder for Abaddon to remain the big bad War Master. So it's a kind of wicked problem, really. It's a bit of a mess. The way Chaos is characterized in 40k, I mean. That being said, I'd be surprised if we start seeing the other Trader Primarchs come back anytime soon. I'd be very surprised. Cool. Cool. Alright, so we have one left. The Last Leaper. Sounds like an epic movie. Omegon's twin, you're out of here. Well, thanks for tuning in, keeping us all company, and sharing that hobby camaraderie. We are going to wrap it up here soon, guys. After this one's done. Probably 10 minutes or so. Hope that's not too optimistic. We'll see. We'll see. Eric Brandenburg says, I feel like when Lehman Rush returns, he and the Lion will argue over who aged worse. Spoiler alert, it will be Russ. That's pretty funny. Look, I'm fine with that. I don't want petty infighting. I think it's cringe. But that is... Depending on the execution, I think that could be very funny. But I feel like when Lehman Russ comes back, he won't see Gilliman or the Lion. Because it feels pretty apparent that Games Workshop doesn't want to deal with the writing challenges that come from Primarchs, Loyalist Primarchs interacting. Feels like they're avoiding it. It's just so much easier just to create the product than have it exist. Rather than advance lore. Which is what I mistakenly thought they were trying to do with 8th edition. Move things to more of a flowing story that increases bit by bit. Steadily advancing as editions press forward. But I don't think that's the case anymore. Vulcan is badass, says Eric Brandenburg. True. This is a true fact. Vulcan is a badass. He just has bad authors in his novels. But as a character concept, as a character sheet, if you will, a character concept, he's super cool. Eric. Eric, that bit you've just outlined there is an excellent reveal. See, that's the kind of story updates that'd be nice to see, right? Like the Blood Angel supplement came out earlier this year, and if you would assume that these codexes and supplements and publications would have meaningful lore advancements with each publication, so, you know, it's news, right? Like each codex comes out, and you're like, holy crap, a new codex is coming out. I'm actually interested. I'm not just looking at the rules or whatever, what rules are coming out. Like, what's going to happen with the Blood Angels as it relates to the wider galaxy's implication. That's interesting, right? And if that bit was in the codex, that'd be fascinating, right? And then at least, oh, okay, so look, now Gilliman knows the lion is back. Interesting, right? God, Eric, you're making me wish for a different timeline here. But look, I like where your head's at. If I think of the Codex supplement sequence release order, Dark Angels were first, so you could have had that supplement really outline the Lion's plans and what he's doing and what the implications of his return really are. And if they really want to dangle the keys, they could intentionally specify that he's not wanting to engage with his brother Rabute right now. You know, he'll trust him to do what he's doing, and you'll talk to him later. That kind of vibe. You dangle those keys, but then at least we know it's on the horizon. It's coming, right? And then you can do a double bait with the Dante Gilliman bit you just mentioned. That's yeah, that's good. I think it's a satisfying tease. And then you're just waiting for the next Ultramarines book, or if they get supplements later this year, like people are suspecting, or if you're waiting for the next Codex proper, you'd expect it. It's going to happen. But then if it doesn't happen, then people are going to get pissed. So pissed. I do think it's not ideal for Loyalist Primarchs to be beating up their Demon Primarchs so easily, though. Even if Lion is, like, the best duelist, it should mean something to be a Demon Primarch, right? It should... I don't like that he can just slap Angron. Alright, there we go. So all that remains is the little fangs, and then we're out of here, guys. Simona says, leave the fans to do it themselves. True. Where is my AI movie of the Fixed Heresy? Where is that? need to get a bit more paint on the palette. Eric Brandenburg says, the other one I want to see is Call, sending Primaris Sons of Ferris Manus to violently replace the Sons of Medusa chapter. Interesting, Eric. Well, it's talent and tactical prowess versus blind rage and uncontrolled power. Is that the difference there from the Sons of Medusa? I'm not... While I like the Iron Hands, I'm just not as familiar with their successor chapters, cultures. Can't know everything. Not in an IP as vast. Eric Brandenburg says the Sons of Medusa chapter broke off from their parent chapter and have had a schism with Mars. Oh, I see. They got beef with the Martians. Not wise. How's the coverage here? Because I'm suspect that it's adequate. Northern Exile, welcome to the stream. Yo, it's like David Attenborough, but creative. Get out of here, this guy. North, this is... Exile Fest is this weekend, right? Am I mistaken? I feel like it is. Eric Brandenburg says, Angron is the worst Primarch, by the way. Total loser. Yeah. Yeah. A little bit. Unfortunately, look, I would like all Primarchs to be given their due, their times to shine. You can write one Primarch in confrontation with another Primarch without one being a total loser, but it's definitely easier if you just want to be a lazy writer. Definitely easier just to say one's a loser and one is cool. We're like, oh, we need Theris Manus to die? Well, let's have him act like a total loser. It happens in Horus Heresy as well. Northern Exile says tomorrow for you. Today for me, it's 1 a.m. here. I'm waiting to be called to bed. Well, dude, exciting. Exciting. Have fun tomorrow, man. That's awesome. That's on the channel bucket list. I'd like to do an organized thing at some point. Super cool. Happy for you. Okay, so I think we'll just do a little bit of edge highlighting. Look, nothing crazy. Just on the sharps. Just on the big claws. I also have some gray I want to use up on the palette. Right, basically, I just want to do this. I just want to, let me line it up here. Do some very simple, pretty rough edge highlighting. The top side of the claw is especially round though, so I wonder how it's going to take. Fine enough. Fine enough, I think. Yeah, Primarchs are an odd one. Feels like a coin flip. Whether or not you'll get a good showing with your guy or not. Northern Exile says, yeah, I want the 40k. A painting weekend in person would be dope. Absolutely. Actually, painting or gaming, I'd love the idea of a more narrative event, even. Not so much into the tournament structure, exactly. It could be, but definitely want more of a narrative bend or a thematic play-encouraged event, right? I think that's where the good stuff of the hobby is anyways. We don't want any crunchy lists that are lame and uninspired. Give me that. Give me that thematic list. Simona says, gosh darn it, I hate how shipping most of the times turn out to be even 10 times more expensive than the thing you're buying. Yeah, that can be the case with tariffs and everything. Not to get political, but that can happen. It's a bummer. Paying duties sucks. I think it's psychological for me more than anything. I think it wouldn't bother me as much if it was just included up front. If it was just part of the cost, and I was none the wiser, I think I would be blissfully ignorant. It's no problem. The price is the price. But knowing that it's an additional cost, I don't like it. We'll do this guy's tail spike. It is facing upwards, and he's the leader. Oh, a bit stark there. Okay. then we can live with that. These guys are more or less ready for basing now. Look, we did it. We did it, everybody. We finished off the leapers. Excluding the bases. No one wants to watch bases. Base work is boring. You know, I find a lot of the time with bases is mostly just doing a process and letting it dry for like 20 minutes. So they're probably not enjoyable for streaming. I mean, I guess you could batch paint them and then the waiting time would be mitigated, but it's also messy. Getting out sand and all the static grass and stuff. I don't really want to do that on stream. Someone that says, so you just like taxes basically? Sort of. Depends. Depends on the amount. Eric Brandenburg says, Lego is building 2 facilities here in Virginia. If I had the governor's ear, I would suggest he get after GW. Okay, well, everybody, I think we're going to wrap it up. We definitely clocked into overtime with today's stream. But it was not for nothing. Look, we finished the leapers. After this, the only tiered project that remains for High Fleet Gengar is the Norn Phantom. It's going to happen. I'm just waiting on parts. Just waiting on some 3D printed parts. Here we go. There's our money shots. There, look at it. Look at this. Badass leaper. Look at him there. He's like, I imagine they're all kind of like Venom from Spider-Man. Just a bunch of crouching creepazoids ready to leap onto their opponents and tear them to bits. I guess that's in their name, right? Leapers. And here's our finished one, right? So finished one and unfinished. So, you know, just the base work. That's basically the only difference, right? Sort of zoomed in here quite a bit because of my camera settings, but I think the comparison is clear enough. All right, everybody. If you made it to the end of the stream, you guys are the real hobby heroes. Thanks for everybody. Thanks to everyone who tuned in and, you know, shared in the hobby camaraderie, kept me company on this Friday evening of painting. And I'm gonna get out of here and enjoy the rest of this weekend, and I hope you guys enjoy yours too. With that, I'll hope to catch you guys in the next one. See ya.